There is a man, 49 years old, sitting in a quiet room, trying to put words to something that has no good words. He is not a preacher. He is not extraordinary in any visible way. But for years, he has been trying to describe an experience that holds the entire shape of his life together. What he says is this: something is more real to me than any thought, any object, any person I have ever known. Without it, life would be a blank, a shoreless waste. He does not know what to call it. He only knows that it is there. William James, a philosopher and psychologist at Harvard, read that account in 1901. Then he read hundreds more just like it, and instead of dismissing them, he asked the one question almost no serious academic had the courage to ask: what if these people are describing something real? This is a summary of the Varieties of Religious Experience by William James. Published in 1902, it remains the most rigorous and compassionate study of what religious experience actually feels like from the inside, and why that matters whether you believe in God or not. If you want a summary like this every week, subscribing takes one tap. Here is the problem the book addresses, and it is one you have probably felt without naming it. We live in a time that has learned to distrust the inner life. We have science, psychology, economics. None of them have space for the ordinary person who says something was present with me that I cannot explain, and it changed me. That experience gets filed under delusion, or wish fulfillment, or a brain firing incorrectly under stress. James will not accept that. He is a scientist. He is also honest enough to notice that dismissing an experience because it cannot yet be measured is not science. It is a prejudice dressed up as one. He wants to sit with the people having these experiences, examine them carefully, and ask what they actually are. That is what this book does, and it will ask something of you too, before it is finished. Before going deeper, here is how the book moves. James identifies two fundamental human types, the once-born and the twice-born. He then examines conversion, the moment a divided self becomes whole, then mysticism, the most extreme form of religious experience, and finally, his conclusions, which are more honest and more open than you might expect. The once-born and the twice-born. Some people move through life with a kind of natural current running beneath everything. They are not shallow people. They simply have no felt need to wrestle with darkness. Walt Whitman was like this. He could walk through a field and feel without effort that everything was right. His relationship to meaning was native, like breathing. James calls this type once born. Then there are the twice born. For them, life is genuinely two-storied. The first floor is ordinary experience, work, love, the body's slow decline, loss. The second floor is something pressing against the first, something that can either crush you or redeem you, depending on whether you find a way to reach it. Leo Tolstoy was twice born. At the height of his fame, 50 years old, celebrated, wealthy, he began to feel that nothing meant anything, not as a passing mood, as a permanent, suffocating fact. He hid his weapons from himself because he did not trust what he might do. His healthy friends told him to get more fresh air. James is gentle with those friends, but clear. That answer works for surface-level discontent. Tolstoy was not surface level. He had looked directly at the fact that he would die, that everyone he loved would die, and he could not look away. What brought him back was not a solution. It was a sudden, wordless sense that something was with him, something the peasants around him called God, which he could not define more precisely, but which gave him back a reason to get up in the morning. He did not solve death. he found a place to stand inside it. This is James's first major claim. Healthy-minded religion works beautifully until real suffering arrives. Then it has no tools. The twice-born person has been forced to build tools the once-born person will someday need. Their suffering has made them structurally more capable of surviving what is coming for all of us. There is still one question open. What is it that the twice-born actually find their way to? Hold that. What serious suffering gives you? James spends a long time with melancholy, and he is not apologetic about it. He quotes John Bunyan, the author of Pilgrim's Progress, describing years of severe depression, the terror of his own sinfulness, the feeling of walking across ground that shook beneath every step. He quotes a French philosopher who watched his faith drain away one night like water from a glass and felt the cold enter him as it went. These are uncomfortable passages. James includes them because they reveal something the optimists miss. The person who has been to the bottom of human suffering and come back has a wider view than the person who has not. The healthy-minded person avoids the dark facts of life by not looking at them. The suffering person has no choice but to look. And because they have no choice, they are forced to find something that actually holds. Not a comfort that only works when things are fine, but something that holds when everything else has been stripped away. If you have been through serious grief or depression that lasted years, or a failure that cost you everything you had built, James is telling you that your experience gave you access to something, not a consolation prize, a structural advantage. The traditions that have spoken most honestly to human suffering, Buddhism, the mystical wings of Islam and Christianity, emerged from communities that had been broken. They were designed for the bottom. That is why they still reach people centuries later. What the practical piece is here: stop treating your hardest years as time lost. They trained you to survive what your happier peers have not yet had to face. The moment the self becomes whole, James defines conversion precisely. It is the process by which a person who was divided inside becomes unified. It can take years. It can happen in a single night. What fascinates him is the role of what he calls the subliminal self, the layer of the mind that lies below ordinary waking consciousness, where experiences accumulate without our awareness, where processing happens that we do not control and cannot observe directly. He describes a man named Mr. Bradley. For years, Bradley had carried a formless sense of moral emptiness. Nothing dramatically wrong, just a long gray absence. He was not in crisis. He was simply hollow. Then one night, reading alone, he felt something shift. Without any preceding thought, without any effort on his part, he felt forgiven. Not for a specific act, but for the whole accumulated weight of feeling insufficient, which he had been carrying so long he had stopped noticing it. He wept. He slept. He woke the next morning, and the world looked different. James is careful here. He does not say a supernatural power entered that room. He says that something in the deeper layers of Bradley's mind finally released. The release felt like it came from outside him, because it came from below the level of his conscious control. What you can do with this, the thing you have been pushing hard against, the grief you will not let yourself feel, the decision you keep avoiding, the forgiveness you refuse to give, is very likely accumulating somewhere below your awareness. You cannot force the moment of release, but you can stop blocking it. Silence helps. So does stopping the habit of white-knuckling outcomes. The subliminal self does not respond to force. It responds to space. What mystics from every tradition agree on. Now James arrives at what he calls the vital chapter of the entire book: Mystical experience, he says, can be identified by 4 qualities. It is ineffable. You cannot fully describe it afterward, and any description feels smaller than the thing itself. It carries what he calls noetic quality. It feels like genuine knowledge, not mere emotion, as though you have perceived something true. It is transient. It fades back into ordinary consciousness within minutes or hours, and it involves passivity. The person does not produce it by effort. It arrives. They receive it. James surveys mystical accounts from every tradition he can reach: Sufi Islam, Buddhist meditation, Hindu yoga, the journals of Teresa of Avila, the 16th century Spanish mystic who spent decades recording states of prayer she could barely put into words. He also includes secular experiences, moments of overwhelming unity in nature, in music. He includes, with full honesty, his own experiments with nitrous oxide, which produced states he found genuinely worth examining. Here is what strikes him across all of it. The content is remarkably consistent. Mystics from radically different cultures, separated by centuries, with completely different theologies, report essentially the same thing: a dissolution of the ordinary sense of self, a feeling of unity with something larger, and an overwhelming sense that love or meaning is not a human wish projected onto reality, but the actual substance of reality itself. And an absolute certainty in the moment that this is not imagination but direct perception. James does not say, this certainty proves anything to an outside observer, but he makes a point worth sitting with. For the people who have these experiences, they carry exactly the weight of direct sensory experience. You cannot argue someone out of what they saw with their own eyes. You cannot argue them out of this either. What the book actually concludes. James arrives at a conclusion that is deliberately modest and more interesting because of it. Across every religion he has examined, he finds one consistent structure underneath all the theology. First, a person feels that something is wrong with them as they naturally are. Not wrong by some external rule, but wrong in a way they feel before they can explain it. Second, they sense that they can be rescued from that wrongness by making contact with something higher than themselves. What is that higher something? James calls it the more, not God. That word carries too much from specific traditions. On the near side, the more is the subliminal self, the deep layers of your own mind that lie below conscious awareness, the part you do not control. On the far side, he will not say with certainty. His own hypothesis, which he calls his overbelief and offers not as proof, but as the best fit for everything he has observed, is this: the subliminal human mind genuinely connects to something beyond it, that when the mystic or the convert or the man in the quiet room feels the presence of something greater than himself, he is not simply producing a comforting hallucination. He is touching, in some way that philosophy has not yet fully mapped, the edge of something that is genuinely there. He writes, "The conscious person is continuous with a wider self through which saving experiences come. That," he says, "is as far as he can go, with confidence. Where that wider self leads, whether it is God, or something in the structure of consciousness, or something else entirely, he declines to decide for you. There is a man, 49 years old, in a quiet room, trying to describe something that holds the entire shape of his life together. William James listened to him. He listened to hundreds like him. He neither believed them automatically nor dismissed them. He took them seriously as people reporting experiences that were real to them, that produced real effects in them. courage, the loosening of the fear of death, a capacity for love and sacrifice that ordinary self-interest would never have generated on its own. James's final word on all of it is this: any account of human nature that leaves those effects out is hollow. Whatever their source, those experiences are data. They are part of what it means to be a person. The question he leaves open, the one worth carrying into sleep tonight, is the same one the man in the quiet room could never quite answer. What is the part of you that you have never yet named? If something in this video stayed with you, drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to hear it, and a like helps more than you know.